Welcome and thank you for joining me, Miss Trott, once again for Math and Science for Young Children. In each of our sessions, we will be reviewing math, science, and early childhood concepts. For this session, our goals are to understand the best practices for involving parents in children's science and math learning, apply concepts of data collection and data analysis to early childhood learning contexts, and practice integrated curriculum approaches of science and math through earthworm exploration and investigation. Make sure you download the note sheet to go along with this video and stick around as we learn more about math and science for young children. A great way for students to really get involved in science and math topics is by also involving their families and having that homeschool connection. Remember, this was also one of the developmentally appropriate practice principles. Ways you can do this are through newsletters, either printed or online, homeschool activities by having students bring items to school to extend that learning, as well as having extension activities that can be done at home. You can have parent helpers, parent and family events, and also documentation of science learning that can then be shared with the families. Our math focus is data analysis. Data analysis involves comparisons and generalizations, and then analyzing the data to make sense of it and learn something new. There are a few different types of developmentally appropriate forms of representing data. An object graph allows children to literally see the answer when comparing sets to discover which has more. Because objects can be of different sizes, it is important for children to place them in rows or boxes on a grid for easy comparison. So maybe we have a large grid on the floor and children take off their shoes and put them in the grid where they can actually see the objects that they're comparing. A pictograph is a more abstract representation of an object graph. Instead of using the objects themselves, pictures are used to represent the object. Children will learn that pictographs have some advantages over an object graph because it can remain over time in a way to remember what data showed at that particular time. A pictograph is a meaningful transition between the objects themselves and a more abstract representation. When dealing with young children, we often overlook the fact that for authentic problem solving to take place, there must be an authentic problem, one whose solution is not obvious or predetermined. Collecting data is not an end in itself. There should always be a reason, a question that can be answered only if we have more information. The three big ideas for data analysis are, number one, the purpose of collecting data is to answer questions when the questions are not immediately obvious. The most important thing that children can learn about data analysis is why we do it. Experiencing why data analysis is useful will motivate them to understand how it works. Number two, data must be represented in order to be interpreted. And how data is gathered and organized depends on the question. Understanding this idea comes with experience and requires adult scaffolding and thoughtful guidance. The third, it is useful to compare parts of the data and to draw conclusions about the data as a whole. Comparing the data and drawing conclusions is what allows us to learn something new and makes the entire process of data analysis meaningful to children. In this session, you will be completing an exemplar activity to go along with the life science and investigating earthworms. Children will observe live earthworms and notice the different parts of their bodies and other characteristics, including their appearance, movement, and behavior. As they investigate different features of the worms, they make comparisons between themselves and these fascinating invertebrates. Children learn about the important role that worms play in nature. They communicate their questions and discoveries and record their observations through drawings. The underlying science concepts learned by investigating earthworms are that earthworms have unique features that help them live in their environment, and earthworms play a vital role within the soil ecosystem. Use your exemplar activity guide and review the engage, explore, and reflect parts to help guide you through this experiment. Once you finish, Make sure you're able to answer the questions about what did you learn about earthworms? How is an earthworm's body the same or different from yours? And would you like to be an earthworm? Why or why not? To continue learning about earthworms, choose one of the ideas for further exploration to complete. A little bit of background knowledge about earthworms are that earthworms do not have nose, eyes, or ears to gather sensory information about their environment. They feel their way through the soil with their bodies. They are sensitive to vibrations. The worm's body is divided into segments, and some types of worms have over 100 segments. The underside of the earthworm has small little bristles that help them move and sense their environment. Earthworms breathe through their skin, and they must stay moist to avoid drying out. It is only found that an adult earthworm plays an important role in reproduction. Earthworms are neither male nor female. Each individual has both male and female reproductive parts. When two worms mate, they fertilize each other and both will lay eggs. Earthworms play many very important roles in maintaining healthy soil. Earthworms help in the process of decomposition by breaking down dead organic matter. They do so by ingesting the organic matter and excreting castings, releasing essential nutrients back into the soil. They also help aerate the soil by burrowing underground, creating tunnels for air and water to pass through. It's good to remember that sometimes teachers who have negative attitudes towards certain creatures, like worms, will deal with those aversions and fears around the children that they teach so they can help them explore their worlds. If you have strong positive feelings about worms, where do you think those came from? Most of you, it came from your past experiences. It's not necessary for every teacher to love every type of creature, but you do need to be aware of your own bias and not pass negative attitudes on to children. When people do have phobias and fears, we need to have empathy and gain understanding of their perspectives. Teachers play a crucial role in shaping children's ecological perspective and appreciation for nature. Children will learn to love and know the natural world only through interaction with adults who show respect and love for it. We cannot assume that this will happen if we as adults do not serve as models. Having experience with living things is essential in helping children to appreciate the interconnectedness of living things and to develop that ecological perspective. Another way to help children consider the world through the eyes of other living things is through dramatic play and role play. Incorporate dramatic play into your science activities. Have children pretend to be worms and butterflies and spiders. That wraps us up for this session. Please check online for all of the other materials and activities presented for this topic. If you have any questions, reach out to me or your instructor. We're here to help. Have a great time learning. See you next time.